Once upon a time, in a kingdom where the sun always shone brightly and the night sky sparkled with stars, there was a prosperous and happy realm called Lumina. Lumina was ruled by a wise and kind-hearted queen named Seraphina. She had a daughter named Princess Elora, who was known throughout the kingdom for her beauty, intelligence, and compassionate nature. Princess Elora had a deep love for the enchanted forest that bordered Lumina. This forest was no ordinary woodland. It was a place of magic and mystery, home to countless mythical creatures. Elora often ventured into the forest to visit her friends, the fairies, elves, and talking animals who lived there. She had a special bond with the guardian of the forest, an ancient and wise dragon named Draconis. Draconis was as old as the forest itself, with emerald green scales that shimmered in the sunlight and eyes that held the knowledge of ages. One day, as Elora wandered through the forest, she stumbled upon a clearing she had never seen before. In the center of the clearing stood a magnificent tree with silver bark and golden leaves that glittered like stars. At the base of the tree was a crystal clear pond, and as Elora gazed into the water, she saw a vision of a distant land engulfed in darkness and despair. Disturbed by the vision, Elora sought out Draconis. The wise dragon listened to her tale and then spoke in a deep, resonant voice. "The tree you found is the Tree of Time, a magical entity that reveals the past, present, and possible futures. The vision you saw is of a kingdom far to the north, called Noxterra. It is a land cursed by an evil sorceress named Morgana, who seeks to spread her darkness across the world. Only a pure-hearted soul can break her curse." Elora felt a stirring of purpose within her. "I must go to Noxterra and try to help them," she declared. Draconis nodded solemnly. "It will be a perilous journey, Princess. Morgana is powerful and cunning. You must be prepared for anything." Determined, Elora returned to the castle and told her mother of her decision. Queen Seraphina, though worried for her daughter's safety, understood her sense of duty and gave her blessing. She bestowed upon Elora a magical amulet that had been passed down through their family for generations. The amulet had the power to protect its wearer from dark magic and guide them through difficult times. Elora set out the next morning on her trusted steed, a majestic white stallion named Lumina. As she rode north, the lush greenery of Lumina gradually gave way to a bleak and barren landscape. The sky grew darker, and an oppressive silence hung in the air. After several days of travel, Elora reached the borders of Noxterra. The once vibrant kingdom was now a desolate wasteland. The people of Noxterra were thin and pale, their eyes hollow with despair. Elora's heart ached at the sight, but she steeled herself for the task ahead. She needed to find the source of Morgana's power and destroy it. Elora made her way to the capital city, where a grand castle loomed ominously against the darkened sky. She entered the city in disguise, blending in with the townspeople as she gathered information. She learned that Morgana resided in the castle, and that her power was rumored to come from a mysterious artifact hidden deep within the castle's dungeons. One evening, Elora sneaked into the castle grounds. Using her wits and the guidance of the magical amulet, she evaded the guards and found her way to the dungeons. The air grew colder and the darkness thicker as she descended. Finally, she reached a massive door adorned with ancient runes. The amulet glowed brightly, and the door swung open. Inside, Elora found a cavernous chamber illuminated by a single, eerie light. In the center of the room was a pedestal, and on it rested a dark crystal that pulsed with malevolent energy. Elora knew this must be the source of Morgana's power. Summoning all her courage, she approached the crystal. As she reached out to touch it, a voice echoed through the chamber. "So, you've come to destroy my power," Morgana hissed, materializing from the shadows. She was tall and slender, with sharp features and eyes that glowed with an unnatural light. "Do you really think you can defeat me, little princess?" Elora stood her ground. "Your reign of terror ends now, Morgana. I will free Noxterra from your curse." With that, she placed her hand on the crystal. The amulet around her neck flared with a brilliant light, and the crystal began to crack and shatter. Morgana screamed in fury and lunged at Elora, but the amulet's magic created a protective barrier around the princess. The sorceress's dark magic was no match for the pure light of the amulet. With a final ear-piercing wail, Morgana was consumed by the light. and the crystal exploded into 1,000 pieces. As the dust settled, the darkness that had plagued Noxterra began to lift. The air grew warmer, and the sky brightened. The people of Noxterra emerged from their homes, their faces lighting up with hope and joy. For the first time in years, Elora returned to the surface, greeted by cheers and tears of gratitude from the townspeople. News of Elara's bravery and the liberation of Noxterra spread quickly. She was hailed as a hero, and her journey became a legend that would be told for generations. But Elora did not seek fame or fortune. Her heart was filled with the satisfaction of having helped those in need. She returned to Lumina, where her mother welcomed her with open arms. Queen Seraphina was overjoyed to see her daughter safe and sound. The kingdom of Lumina celebrated Elara's return with a grand feast, and Draconis, the wise dragon, visited to offer his congratulations and share in the joy. Years passed, and Princess Elora eventually became queen. Under her reign, Lumina and Noxterra flourished, united by bonds of friendship and mutual respect. Elara's story served as a reminder of the power of courage, compassion, and the enduring light of hope. And so, Queen Elora and the people of Lumina lived happily ever after, their tale a shining beacon in the annals of time, reminding all who heard it that even in the darkest of times, a single act of bravery can bring forth the dawn. That's the end of our first story, called The Enchanted Kingdom. We hope you enjoyed it. Our next bedtime story is the tale called The Man Who Should Have Been King. Once upon a time, in the grand kingdom of Valoria, there lived a benevolent king named Cedric. He ruled his land with fairness and compassion, and his people loved him dearly. King Cedric had two sons, the elder, Prince Alaric, who was destined to inherit the throne, and the younger, Prince Dorian, who harbored a dark ambition for power. Prince Alaric was everything a future king should be: brave, kind, and wise beyond his years. He spent his days learning the ways of governance from his father and training with the kingdom's finest knights. Prince Dorian, on the other hand, grew envious of his brother's talents and the love he received from their father and the people. Dorian longed for the throne and the power it would bring. One fateful night, as the kingdom slept under a blanket of stars, Dorian put his sinister plan into action. He hired a group of mercenaries to capture Alaric and imprison him in a remote and forgotten tower on the far edge of the kingdom. To ensure no one searched for Alaric, Dorian spread a cruel lie. He announced that Alaric had died in a tragic accident. The kingdom mourned deeply for the loss of their beloved prince, but none mourned more than King Cedric. Overcome with grief, the king's health began to fail. Dorian, seizing the opportunity, stepped into the role of regent, ostensibly to help his ailing father, but in truth to consolidate his own power. In the meantime, Alaric languished in his prison tower. His captors had taken every precaution to ensure he could not escape, but they underestimated his resourcefulness and determination. For years, Alaric bided his time, gathering his strength and plotting his escape. He befriended a raven that nested near his window, training it to deliver messages in hopes of finding someone loyal who could help him. One day, Alaric's patience paid off. The raven returned with a reply from a loyal friend, Sir Gareth, a knight who had served the royal family faithfully for many years. Gareth had never believed the story of Alaric's death and had been quietly searching for the truth. Upon receiving Alaric's message, Gareth immediately began planning a rescue. Back in the palace, Dorian's rule had grown increasingly tyrannical. The people of Valoria, once prosperous and happy, now suffered under heavy taxes and harsh laws. Whispers of rebellion began to spread, but Dorian crushed any dissent with ruthless efficiency. As the situation in the kingdom deteriorated, Gareth gathered a small band of loyalists and set out for the tower where Alaric was held. The journey was perilous, but Gareth's determination never wavered. Under the cover of night, they reached the tower, overpowered the guards, and freed Alaric. Weak from years of imprisonment but fueled by a burning desire to reclaim his rightful place, Alaric vowed to return to Valoria and set things right. With Gareth's help, he began to rally support among those who had suffered under Dorian's rule. Word of the true heir's return spread like wildfire, and soon a formidable force had gathered, ready to challenge Dorian's reign. In the heart of the capital, the final confrontation loomed. Dorian, upon hearing of his brother's return, was consumed with rage and fear. he fortified the palace and prepared his loyalists for battle. But his paranoia only served to further alienate the people. On the day of the battle, Alaric and his supporters marched on the capital. The people, tired of Dorian's cruelty, opened the gates and welcomed Alaric as their rightful leader. The ensuing battle was fierce, but Alaric's forces, fighting for justice and the restoration of their beloved kingdom, prevailed. Dorian, realizing his defeat was imminent, attempted to flee, but was captured by Gareth. He was brought before Alaric and the people of Valoria to answer for his crimes. In a moment of poetic justice, Alaric chose not to execute his brother, but to imprison him in the very tower where he had been held captive for so many years. With Dorian's tyranny ended, Alaric ascended the throne. King Cedric, though frail, lived long enough to see his eldest son crowned king and to witness the restoration of peace and prosperity to Valoria. Under Alaric's wise and just rule, the kingdom flourished once more. Alaric's reign was marked by fairness, compassion, and a deep commitment to the well-being of his people. He worked tirelessly to repair the damage Dorian had done, and to ensure that such treachery could never threaten Valoria again. He surrounded himself with trusted advisors, including the loyal Sir Gareth, who became one of his closest confidants. Years passed, and Valoria became a beacon of hope and prosperity in the land. Alaric married a noblewoman named Eleonora, who shared his vision of a just and peaceful kingdom. Together, they had children who were raised with the same values of kindness and wisdom that had guided Alaric throughout his life. As for Dorian, he remained in the tower, his dreams of power shattered. Alaric, despite everything, ensured his brother was treated humanely, demonstrating the mercy and fairness that had made him a beloved king. In the end, the tale of Alaric and Dorian became a legend, a story told to remind future generations of the importance of integrity, the dangers of unchecked ambition, and the enduring power of justice and compassion. And so, King Alaric and the kingdom of Valoria lived happily ever after, a shining example of the triumph of good over evil. And that is the story of the man who should have been king, but was betrayed by his brother, only to rise again and reclaim his rightful place on the throne. Our next story for tonight is called The Enchanted Librarian. In the heart of a bustling city, nestled between tall buildings and busy streets, stood a quaint little library. It was a place of refuge for book lovers, a quiet sanctuary where stories came to life. Among its many patrons, there was a young woman named Emily who had worked there for years. Emily had always been enchanted by fairy tales, losing herself in the pages of magical worlds whenever she had a spare moment. Emily's love for fairy tales stemmed from her childhood, when her grandmother would read her bedtime stories filled with dragons, wizards, and brave heroes. Now, as the head librarian, she took great joy in organizing the fairy tale section, ensuring every book was in its rightful place, and often indulging in reading them after hours. One particularly quiet evening, as Emily was shelving new arrivals, she noticed a book she had never seen before. It was bound in deep green leather, with gold leaf edges and an intricate, swirling design on the cover. The title read, The Chronicles of Eldoria. Curious, Emily carefully opened the book and began to read. The book described a beautiful and mystical kingdom named Eldoria, ruled by a kind and wise king. However, the kingdom was under threat from an evil wizard named Malgath, who sought to overthrow the king and plunge Eldoria into darkness. As Emily read on, she felt a strange sensation, as if the words on the pages were wrapping around her, pulling her in. Suddenly, the room around her began to fade, and she found herself engulfed in a whirl of colors and light. When the sensation stopped, Emily found herself standing in a lush, green forest. She was no longer in her library, but in a realm that matched the descriptions in the Chronicles of Eldoria. Bewildered yet intrigued, Emily began to explore her surroundings. The forest was alive with magic. Trees whispered secrets to each other, and glowing creatures flitted through the air. As Emily wandered deeper into the forest, she stumbled upon a clearing where a handsome man stood beside a majestic white horse. He was dressed in elegant, regal attire, and his eyes sparkled with intelligence and kindness. Emily recognized him instantly from the book. He was Prince Aidan, the heir to the throne of Eldoria. "Who are you?" Aidan asked, his voice a mix of curiosity and concern. "I'm Emily," she replied, still trying to grasp the reality of her situation. I think I was brought here by a book. Aiden's expression softened. You must be the one the prophecy spoke of. It is said that a stranger from another world would come to help us in our time of need. Malgoth's power grew stronger by the day, and we need all the help we can get. Emily, realizing that she had a role to play in this enchanted land, agreed to assist Prince Aiden. Together, they embarked on a journey to find the ancient artifacts needed to defeat Malgoth. Their first destination was the Cave of Whispers, where the Amulet of Light was said to be hidden. As they traveled, Emily and Aiden encountered numerous challenges and forged a deep bond. They battled enchanted creatures, navigated treacherous landscapes, and solved ancient riddles. Emily's knowledge from reading countless fairy tales proved invaluable, and Aiden's bravery and wisdom guided them through many perils. At the Cave of Whispers, they faced their greatest challenge yet. The cave was guarded by a fierce dragon, a creature of immense power and intelligence. Emily and Aiden knew that brute force alone would not defeat the dragon. Using her wit, Emily engaged the dragon in a conversation, discovering that it was not truly evil, but bound to protect the amulet by a curse. Through a clever negotiation, Emily convinced the dragon to relinquish the Amulet of Light in exchange for breaking the curse that bound it. With the amulet in hand, Emily and Aiden made their way to the capital city of Eldoria, where Malgoth had already begun his assault on the palace. The final battle was intense and fraught with danger. Malgoth's dark magic was formidable, and his minions swarmed the palace grounds, but Emily and Aiden, bolstered by their newfound courage and the Amulet of Light, fought valiantly. As the battle reached its climax, Emily used the amulet to dispel Malgoth's dark magic, weakening him enough for Aiden to deliver the final blow. With Malgoth defeated, peace returned to Eldoria, the people rejoiced, and Emily was hailed as a hero. Prince Aiden, grateful and admiring of Emily's bravery and intelligence, asked her to stay in Eldoria, but Emily knew she had to return to her own world, though she promised she would never forget the magical kingdom and the friends she had made. As a token of gratitude, Aiden gave Emily a locket containing a piece of the Amulet of Light, ensuring that part of Eldoria would always be with her, with a heavy heart but a sense of fulfillment. Emily said her goodbyes and found herself once again enveloped in the whirl of colors and light. Emily awoke to realize she was back in the library, the mysterious book still open in front of her. She glanced around, realizing it was closing time and the library was empty. Shaking of the surreal experience, she closed the book and prepared to head home. As Emily stepped outside into the cool evening air, she collided with someone. Looking up, she gasped. Standing before her was a man who looked exactly like Prince Aiden from the book. "I'm sorry," he said, smiling warmly. "I didn't see you there." Emily, her heart pounding, managed to respond. "It's okay, I'm Emily." The man chuckled to himself. "And I'm Adrian. Nice to meet you," he replied. "Are you heading this direction?" He pointed down the street. "Yes, I am," Emily replied shyly. "Would it be weird if I asked you if you would mind me walking with you?" Adrian smiled. "Not at all." Emily smiled back. "In that case, after you, my fair maiden." Adrian laughed, gesturing for Emily to walk ahead. Emily, feeling a sense of destiny and wonder, nodded as they walked together. She couldn't help but feel that her adventure in Eldoria was not entirely over. Perhaps, just perhaps, magic was real after all, and her fairy tale was just beginning. And so, Emily and Adrian embarked on a new journey together, one filled with the promise of love, adventure, and a touch of magic. Thank you for listening to tonight's 3 fairy tale stories. We hope you enjoyed them, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more soothing content.